Over 16 years ago in 2004, Catholic philosopher Alasdair MacIntyre was forced to make a decision: a vote for George W. Bush or for John Kerry, a support for a party that either supports abortion or an unjust war over in Iraq. MacIntyre saw the choice as being a false dichotomy, one not worth taking, and opted to vote for neither on moral principled ground. And it seems again and again, this is an often forgotten option in every election cycle, either in the United States, Canada, or in Europe abroad, in any democratic country. We do have a right to vote in many places, but we also have a right to abstain. When to abstain and when to vote is a serious issue that MacIntyre reflects upon in this following essay, The Only Vote Worth Casting in November. MacIntyre writes, "When offered a choice between two politically intolerable alternatives, it is important to choose neither, and when that choice is presented in rival arguments and debates that exclude from public consideration any other set of possibilities, it becomes a duty to withdraw from the arguments and debates, as to resist the imposition of the false choice by those who have aggregated to themselves the power of framing the alternatives. These are positions which in the abstract may seem to invite easy agreement, but when they find application to the coming presidential election, they are likely to be rejected out of hand. For it has become an ingrained piece of received wisdom that voting is one mark of a good citizen, not voting a sign of irresponsibility. But the only vote worth casting in November is a vote that no one will be able to cast, a vote against a system that presents one with a choice between Bush's conservatism and Kerry's liberalism, these two partners in ideological debate, both of whom need the other as the target. Why should we reject both? Not primarily because they give us wrong answers, but because they answer the wrong questions. What, then, are the right political questions? One of them is, what do we owe our children? And the answer is that we owe them the best chance that we can give them of protection and fostering from the moment of conception onward. And we can only achieve that if we give them the best chance that we can both of a flourishing family life in which the work of their parents is fairly and adequately rewarded, and of an education which will enable them to flourish. These two sentences, if fully spelled out, amount to a politics. It is a political requirement to be pro-life, not only in doing whatever is most effective in reducing the number of abortions, but also in providing health care for expectant mothers, in facilitating adoptions, in providing aid for single-parent families, and for grandparents who have taken parental responsibility for their grandchildren. And it is a politics that requires us to make as a minimal economic demand the provision of meaningful work that provides a fair and adequate wage for every working parent, a wage sufficient to keep a family well above the poverty line. The basic economic injustice of our society is that the costs of economic growth are generally borne by those least able to afford them, and that the majority of the benefits of economic growth go to those who need them least. Compare the rise in wage of ordinary working people over the last 30 years to the rise in the income and wealth of the top 20%. Compare the value of minimum wage now to its value then, and next compare the value of the remuneration of CEOs to its value then. What is needed to secure family life is a sufficient minimum income for every family, and that can perhaps best be secured by some version of the negative income tax, proposed long ago by Milton Friedman. A tax that could be used to secure large and just redistribution of income and so of property. We note at this point that we have already broken with parties, and both candidates try to promote the pro-life case that we have described within the Democratic Party, and you will best go unheard and at worst be shut down. Try to advance the case for economic justice, as we have described it within the Republican Party, and you will be laughed out of court. Above all, insist, as we are doing, that these two cases are inseparable, that each requires the other for its complement, and you will be met with blank incomprehension. For the recognition of this is precluded by the ideological assumptions in terms of which the political alternatives are framed, yet at the same time neither party is wholeheartedly committed to the cause of which it is the ostensible defender. Republicans happily endorse pro-choice candidates when it is to their advantage to do so. Democrats draw back from the demands of economic justice with alacrity when it is to their advantage to do so, and in both cases, rhetorical exaggeration disguises what is lacking in political commitment. In this situation, a vote cast is not only a vote for a particular candidate, it is also a vote to cast for a system that presents us only with unacceptable alternatives. The way to vote against the system is to not vote.